And we're off. Here we go.
Here we go,
So
circling
this,
around in the Darwin boxing ring.
so that wasn't even a proper wrestling ring, was it?
That was a boxing ring. The poor
Uh,
promoter, he ordered a wrestling ring and they said, it'll be there in 3 months. And he said, sweet, I'll book a show for 5 months' time. 5 months later, it hadn't arrived. Actually, it arrived on the dock the day before this show, but he needed to sit there for 48 hours before they could clear quarantine. So the ring was sitting down on the dock, but he had to think quick and hire a boxing ring. So this is a completely stiff, solid boxing ring.
you can tell when Davis jumps down from the thing that the ring doesn't move at all.
Doesn't move at all.
Was this a case of like we're gonna have to modify some of the stuff we do here because this is gonna kill us otherwise?
I don't think, stupidly, I don't think we did. We because this is the first match ever for Darwin Pro Wrestling. The crowd had never seen a match before, and we didn't want to shortchange them, so we tried to give them the best match that we possibly could. And it's fantastic. It's a big thrill for me to actually be able to wrestle in the first ever Pro Wrestling Darwin match because, as I said, I was born in Darwin, so this was a homecoming for me. And the guy that runs the promotion, Brad West, is a good friend of mine. So I wanted to be able to help him out. The second I found out that he was going to be putting shows on, I put my hand up and said, I'll be there anytime you need me, without doubt. And to be able to do it with David Storm, the guy that is a huge part of my training, and a huge part of one of my idols, was fantastic as well.
And you won't see it on this video, but he actually cuts a promo before this too. Was that merely just to make sure you got enough heat on yourself, just to sort of because there would have been no real people knowing who was a heel, who was a face?
No one had a clue who I was, so I just wanted to make sure they reacted to me some way, shape, or form. So yeah, I ran down my poor hometown of Darwin. But the crowd was amazing because we were worried, like, will they know how to be a wrestling crowd? But they were just red hot the whole night. They were so keen to see wrestling. It's a cool little venue. There's tiered seating on either side. It's only seats about 150, but they sold out. Their first ever show, but they sold every single ticket. You could not get any more tickets. So, but yeah, it was fantastic. It was a really, really good show. And they were lapping everything up. I mean, at the moment, we're just doing a lot of technical chain wrestling back and forth, and some of you more experienced wrestling fans don't even enjoy that. They kind of get to the big bumps and whatnot, but they were eating up this whole stuff. They loved it and really enjoyed it, which is great fun because it's the style of wrestling that both Davis and I really like to do.
Yeah, this is what, like, I had this conversation with a wrestling fan on the internet, which is never a good idea. But it was sort of like they were arguing. They thought that like collar and elbow tie-ups were outdated nowadays and blah blah. And I was like, I put forward, well, the idea of wrestling is it's supposed to be a competitive match. Because but why would I let someone put a headlock on you? I said, have you ever really actually had a headlock put on you? It's not done by choice. And when they've got you in it, it's hard to get out of it. It's not an easy thing to break out of.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's called wrestling.
Yeah, that's it. The whole idea for me is I like the fact of like it's theater, but it's also sport. It's supposed to look like a contest. It's supposed to. That's why a lot of times I don't like things that look overly clean because it's almost like the opponents let him do it. I like there to be a little bit of a struggle. I like there to be like you've got a little bit of a struggle going on here, the back and forth, and like being the good heel, you couldn't beat him fairly, so you pulled the hair to try and get out of it.
Exactly. I mean, every wrestling match, unless it's a blood feud, needs to start with wrestling. What it descends into really depends on the story of your match. But I mean, at the moment here, he's just trying to win the match. You know, if we don't care about the outcome, then why would anyone else care about the outcome? But yeah, it's good, nice, slow storytelling here. Here we go.
Nice.
Yeah, that's not a lot of giving that ring.
I noticed
good arm drag.
I noticed that you're trying to take as much in the middle of it as possible. So whatever flex there is.
There was none. There was a metal pole out every meter and in a grid. So there's probably about 15 metal poles sticking up in the bottom of that. There is nothing whatsoever. Yeah, it was But I mean, at the time, you don't really notice it. But the ring was the least of my worries, as we'll get to
Yeah.
probably within the next couple of minutes. I actually completely obliterate my calf in this match. I tear it completely. I end up putting about a 3 centimeter, 4 centimeter long by 3 centimeter deep tear in my calf
Oh.
pretty early in this match. So that put a damper on things. But I'll be curious to see how much it actually affects the end result. I was definitely aware of it, but a few people backstage apparently didn't know. But I find that hard to believe because I don't think I was even probably walking properly by the end of the match.
Ugh. I can't even
Yeah,
like
I
because
was really impressed with the crowd. I was
I've
really
pulled.
impressed with the crowd because at the moment, like, there hasn't been anything really kind of resembling what you would see on TV. Here we go, ready? And when I go to run, bang, there it is.
Oh, I could. Oh, you can see by the way you. Oh.
Yep. Just when I stepped off to run, I thought, oh, I've got a really bad cramp here. And right now I'm trying to stretch that cramp out, which is probably just tearing it further. But yeah, that was probably the worst pain I've ever felt in a match, I'd say. And what are we? We're 6 minutes in.
So another 10 to go.
Another 10 to go. And so right now, the thing that's going through your head is, can I finish this match? Can I continue? And that's the conversation that Davis and I are having right now. But there was no way that I was not going to finish this match. It was the first match in the history of the company. There was no way I was going to, as Dave lights me up with the chop, there's no way I was just going to go, oh, no, sorry, I hurt myself, I'm out. No. So I was going to make sure I got through it no matter what. But yeah, in a bit of pain is an understatement for what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I've pulled my calf before, and that sometimes feels like you're getting shot in the back of the leg when it happens. So I can't imagine
That's exactly what it felt like. It felt like someone had shot an arrow into my leg. It was horrible. And it was so hot and so warm that I thought that it felt like my boot was filling up with blood because so much blood was rushing to the area. So
Yeah.
I was convinced that I was going to take my boot off and there was just going to be a puddle of blood in there. But obviously it was just inside my leg.
So was it just a matter of like, I don't know, like not stretching enough, or was it dehydration, or?
I'm not sure. I had a chat to my physio and he said that it might have actually been the fact that for 12 years, I've been wrestling on a certain density of ring and with a certain amount of give that I run on. I haven't run because I used to play a lot of soccer. I used to run on a really solid surface when I would do road running and when I would play soccer and whatnot. But sprinting and running on a solid ground that gives no give is something I haven't done in a very long time. So my body wasn't used to it. But I'd had a few cramps in that calf before. So my suspicion is that maybe I'd had a micro tear earlier that I hadn't let heal properly. But yeah, I don't know. I just planted that foot and it just absolutely exploded on me. My stretching routine has improved greatly since then. I've had a few other little niggles with my other calf since. And I think it was just maybe, on my wake up call, hey, you're mid-30s now, you need to make sure you do some things to take care of this. But I felt great heading into the match. I was feeling pretty fit. I'd been wrestling quite a lot. I had no reason to suspect that anything was going to happen, and then just went through it and absolutely agony.
Because
right now I'm just trying to ignore it.
I think I remember when you were up here, when we worked you were talking about how excited you were to be going to Darwin to have that match, to have the show.
Yeah, and here I am bridging on it like a fool.
I was going to say, wow. You could tell though when you get up and just trying to walk that you can't do it. Like that leg is just stiff as hell.
Yeah, this was so sore because it's my right leg, the one that's underneath him right now. So right now, his forearm's digging right into where the calf is. And yeah, just being in this position was terrible for it. Trying to find anything that didn't hurt it was a real pain. I don't know how I got through the match. Obviously, it was adrenaline because within half an hour of me finishing for the night, because I had another match after this against Marcus Pitt, within within 5 minutes of finishing that match, I could not walk without crutches, and I didn't walk again without crutches for another week and a half. It just didn't
Wow.
happen. I could not. I needed to borrow crutches from someone so I could get on the plane to go home, because it wasn't going to happen.
Did you bruise up a lot, or was it just a?
Yeah, it was heaps and heaps of bruising. I knew
Oh.
straight away. Yeah, that was a different one. Felt that helped take my mind off my calf for a little while. Have them straight onto the knee. That was a good one. That one.
Oof.
Yeah.
I hate those ones because I
Um,
know there's no way you can like not take it safely, but there's no way you can sort of like spread out the impact of them.
no, you're just taking a knee right in the middle of your back. Um, yeah, but you can see we're not going crazy. As I said, it's not really the thing that we really wanted to make sure that we did is that we stayed true to who Davis and I were as wrestlers. If we could have gone out there and had a WWE TV style match, but that's not how we wrestle, so we wouldn't have been true to ourselves because we're going out there to put on a show for the Darwin crowd and for the new Darwin promotion, but we're also going out there to put on a show for ourselves and to
Mm.
advertise ourselves and get ourselves over and whatnot and show them what we're all about and try and make new fans for us. So we wanted to make sure that we gave them a match that, oh yeah,
Mm. Yep.
struggling with it here at the moment.
Not the strongest kick in the world there, but you can understand
No,
why.
because I had to plant on the right. So I kick with my left, but I had to plant on the right to do it. So that's what, yeah, I cringe when I watch it because I just think about what this match could have been in terms of my performance. But I think we're still getting a pretty good show. We're still putting a lot of effort into it. And as I said, they're
Oh,
still enjoying it, and they're
mate,
with us the whole way, which is
yeah.
great. Which is
If it
which is a
was me,
testament to
if that
what was
was
that? Sorry.
me, if that was me, I would have lost by count out from that first thing. Well, just stay. She's right.
It actually, I questioned myself afterward. I said to myself, okay, how bad would you have to hurt yourself in a match before you would actually just throw up the exit and call it a day? And I don't actually know. I probably would have to break my leg and not be able to walk for me to. So you can
the
see I'm
worst,
still trying to run there, but it's not happening.
yeah, the worst one I've seen was I can't remember what name he was working under there, but it was Jimmy Scarlett is the guy I'm thinking of, and it was the first time we'd given him his main event match against Matt Basso for the RC Dub title. He'd won a Rumble at the earlier in the night, and he was a guy that we really love. His name was Johnny Barnes, is what he was wrestling under at the time. We loved his like everything about him. He got into his fat, and I think it was about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes into the match, he blew his ACL,
Oh,
and he just legit could not stand on it. He
yeah.
tried, to almost to the fact that like Matty had to pin him to finish the match because he didn't want to give up. He didn't want to do it because he knew this was his big spot.
Mm.
And like all of us are like in the back just going, just take the pin, mate. Just you can't walk, bro. But yeah, I think that would probably be something that would be hard to, because once your knee blows out.
Yeah. Unless I don't know how I managed to do that one still. Yeah, it's one of those things where, oof,
Oh,
yep, collapse there. It's one of those things where you never want to have to finish a match. You always want to be able to finish it on your own terms.
why?
Yeah. And just you can see I'm just collapsing every time I'm doing something that would normally, I normally pride myself. The thing that I think I do better than a lot of people, or that I do as good as anyone in this country, is footwork.
No. Oh,
And
and the bridging.
yep. I'm probably, to be honest, the whatever size tear it was by the end of the match probably is double what it was when I actually did it. I probably just, managed to
So you had
exacerbate the injury by doing all these things. But that's being a wrestler. I guess it's being a stupid, prideful wrestler and just making sure that I can. Oh no, not even going to finish it yet. Oh, and bridging on that one as well. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that we gave them their money's worth, and that we set the tone, because I mean that's our job. We're the first match of the night. Our job is to set the tone and say, hey, this is what you're going to see for the rest of the night. This is what you're going to see for the rest of the life of this company. So please come back. You can make or break lifelong fans in that first match they ever see.
Yeah. So you had another match after this.
I did, yes.
So how did you like keep warm or like not die in between those matches?
So I was scheduled to wrestle Marcus Pitts after the intermission. So this was the first match. There's going to be 2 more matches, then an intermission, then I'd wrestle Marcus Pitt.
Which is always an easy
I got backstage. I got backstage, and the next match went on. And the booker came backstage and said, we'll cut that match. I said, no, that screws your whole tournament. Just put me on next. Just put me on next, because if I cool down too much, it's not going to work. And then basically we came up with a way to make sure that the match went about 1.5 minutes. So that way it still made logical sense, still got the winner that we needed, still got them to the final that they needed for the main event. And then hopefully the crowd would be none the wiser. There's a nice edit there to change where I didn't jump whatsoever.
Good lads.
And mercifully, I think that might be it. The first match in the history of Darwin Pro Wrestling ever, over and done with. And the Darwin guy, the guy born in Darwin, doesn't even get to win. Davis Storm takes the glory.
Well, you know, it is Davis Storm.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm glad that we finished the match. I'm pretty proud of what we managed to achieve, considering the circumstances. It's only been what? So this would make 3 times I've wrestled Davis Storm singles ever. This was the second one. The third one was it early this year or late last year? Late last year, when we wrestled for the Coastal title. So getting an opportunity to wrestle Davis Storm was fantastic, and I always relish those opportunities, because I believe that we can make make some magic together. I believe that we can. And it's just a shame that something like that got in the way of us being able to give the best possible match that we could give. But the crowd still enjoyed it. The boys out the back certainly appreciated it. The guy that Brad West, who flew us out there for the show, greatly appreciated the effort that we made. And I think that we helped get the show off to a good start, and hopefully the crowd didn't notice it too much.
So I was going to say, did the boys in the back know how bad it was when you first did it, or did they? When I got back, a few of them said, "Oh, did you cramp up? You look like you were cramping up." Yeah.
And then when I got backstage and collapsed, they were pretty aware of it. And then later on, when I took my boot off and we could just see how big my calf was and completely bruised and that sort of stuff, that was but I felt bad too, because every single guy. So myself, Davis Storm, and Marcus Pitt were on the show. And apart from that, and Leo Pratt was on the show because he'd moved to Darwin, and another guy called Ginjaro. So the 5 of us had wrestled in front of a crowd before. Everyone else on the card was making their debut, including Edith Knight, who came over for the show.
Oh, yeah.
She made her debut in the Rumble. So everyone else was wrestling their first match ever. And then they watched the 2 of the most senior guys the 2 most senior guys on the card go out there, and one of them gets horrifically injured in the first few minutes, and they're like, "Oh God, what are we going to do?" But I didn't want, and I knew that they had to come out and wrestle after. I want those poor bastards to have to try and wrestle a crowd back from being disappointed at the first match finishing in 6 minutes. But they did a great job. They got a really, really passionate crew up there. And I loved my time there, and I hope that I can head back sometime soon.
Yeah, and then for those guys too that are wrestling their first match, seeing you come backstage and how hurt you are, to see you go out again and work again, then must be like, well, I guess this is what the business is. Holy shit, what have I got myself into?
Yeah, that was so sitting backstage, getting someone to push on my foot to try and keep it moving warm. Sitting there, like toweling down the flop sweats that I've got while I'm having a quick chat with Pitt, going, all right, so what we'll do is we'll do this, and that way, oh, hang on, stand me up. All right, cool. Yep, cool. All right, and out we go. And I remember one of the young guys going, how good's wrestling?
Oh, Jesus.
It was just one of those things where if it happened 5-6 years earlier in my career, I probably wouldn't have been able to think my way through that situation. But luckily, we had enough experience between us. And the other thing that really pissed me off about it is that's why the match that Marcus Pitt and I had last month is the first match we've ever had, because I do not count the match that happened 20 minutes after this, because it went for a minute and a half, if that, probably maybe even a minute. And that was going to be the first time ever. So in my mind, hey, you're going back to Darwin, your hometown, you get to see all the sights, you get to experience that beautiful weather again, you get to help a brand new company, because this is my first time ever wrestling on a company's first show. And while you're at it, you get a singles with David Storm and a singles with Marcus Pitt. And if you can win enough of them, you get to have a triple threat with both of them. Like, what a dream booking. What an absolute dream booking. And then I tear my calf, stumble through my match with Davis, and then miss out on the match with Marcus Pitt. But thankfully, I've had opportunity to wrestle both of them since then. And hopefully we'll wrestle both of them many more times again.
Well, thank you so much for doing this for me, mate. It's like I said, normally we will pick out ones that are absolute classics, but if anything, this is a classic for a different reason. And I suppose it also, for people that are watching this at home, it gets to see that other side to it, where like sometimes people actually just will gut out something because they know how important it is to A, the company, and B, the people that have paid their hard earned to come and see it. Because I constantly say to workers I'm on shows with, like, I'm still shocked that people will pay $20 to come out and see us. Do you know what I mean? It shocks me that, like, I know I did it myself. I'll pay and go and see a show, but for me, it's just me. Why? I know you want to pay to see me get my ass kicked, but it just shocks me you'll do it. And I think it's such a privilege for us to do that, us to be able to do it as well. Yeah. And I don't think 100%. We should ever forget that.
No, never, no, at all. And it's funny, I literally went to took some students to a leadership conference today, and there was a speaker there that talked about where he played a gig in front of 25 people. And his mother reminded him that, you know, whether it's 25 or 500 or 5,000, you play your heart out, you play the same, because those 25 people that bought tickets, don't punish them for being the only ones who bought tickets. Like, you're mad at the people who didn't buy tickets. So don't, phone it in because there's only 25 people, because every person that came bought a ticket. They're the ones who deserve your effort the most. So I say to the people, say to the guys that I train quite often, there are no small shows, just small performances. So it doesn't matter how many people are in attendance. Someone is digging into their wallet, taking out money, which gets increasingly harder to come by these days in the current times we live in, and handing it over to watch you live out your dream. They're allowing you to live out your dream and get paid for it, and they're paying to watch that. So you need to make sure that you're providing value for money, and you're providing them with what they want, and what they want is a great night of entertainment.
Yeah, it's also that, like, the Stan Lee quote where he said, like, he wanted everyone, like, he treated every comic that he ever wrote or anything like it was the first comic someone's going to pick up, because invariably there is going to be someone there that's, like, in wrestling, there is going to be someone who this is their first show. So put on your best performance because you want them to come back.
Yeah, that was the really unique and fun challenge about the match that we just watched as well, because 99% of my matches in my career, actually probably 95% of the matches in my career have been in front of the EPW faithful. So I could, if I wanted to, I could probably fall into a sense of false security and go, well, they know me, they know my shtick. I don't need to spend too much time, establishing who I am. Whereas these people up there, they didn't have a clue who I was. I didn't expect them to be, tape traders for EPW and those sorts of things. They'd literally never even seen live wrestling before. Did they know how they were meant to react? Did they know that they were allowed to make noise? Because so many other performances and things that we go to, you just kind of sit there on your hands and, oh, okay, that was the thing. So trying to see whether or not the reactions that I'd got and the emotions that I could get out of crowds in front of my home crowd, can I do that in front of a Darwin crowd that's never seen me before? And that's one of the things that I really love about traveling. Like when I go over to New South Wales and wrestle for Newey Pro and PWA and places like that, can I achieve the same thing in front of a fresh, brand new crowd? Can I take this package that I've been working on for 13 years, this thing that I've been trying to craft, and put it anywhere in the world, and it still is a success? And that's how you know if you've actually got something that's marketable and that you can use around the country and around the world, hopefully.
Yeah, I had that same thing when I first moved up here, because I got really good heat in Adelaide. But it was the only place that ever worked. I've been there for 4 years. Everyone knew who I was. They knew my character. They knew that. So when I came up here, it was sort of like, oh, I hope my thing wasn't just an Adelaide only thing, and I can be hated everywhere. I mean, it turns out I was, but I mean, still that very first show coming through the curtain where they don't know who you are from a block of wood. Because basically with RCW, they'd seen me go from a rookie commentator to like the head commentator to the host of the show to evil manager. So they'd seen the whole slow evolution, where these guys have just seen like, this is the evil prick Todd.
Oh, I remember my very first match in PWA. It was the Casula Powerhouse, and I was wrestling against Robbie Eagles for the PWA Championship. And I'd never been over there before. I'd never wrestled in New South Wales at all. And I walked out, and I think I'd become the real wrestler 6 or 8 months beforehand. And I'd been getting booed out of every building I'd been in EPW. And then I walked through the curtain, and I was just, who the fuck is this guy? I haven't had a clue who I was. Not one clue whatsoever. And I was just like, oh, this is going to be a tough night. These guys are going to regret giving me this spot. And then I went out there, and then Robbie and I think, had a really, really great match. And by the end of the night, or by halfway through the match, they hated me well and truly, which was great. And that was, okay, now I can calm down into this, and I can settle in this, and I can really enjoy it. And yeah, that was the first time, and thankfully that went well. And because that went well, that's why I've been able to go back numerous times and continue to learn from that crew over there.
Yeah, well, I remember when you did the show up here, you were like, oh, I haven't been a face for a long time. I don't know how they're gonna react to me. And I was just like, you're fine. Don't worry. They hate us enough that you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
That
was really good fun.
Yes, thank you so much for doing that, mate. And I guess we've already put your plugs out again, because this is a different day, a different show. So
sure.
put all your plugs out.
So Facebook, Gavin McGavin. Instagram at Real Wrestling AUS, Twitter at Real Wrestling AU. And then I think if you go to either of those, my link tree is on there, which has got all my merch and that sort of stuff as well. But yeah, drop in the social medias, come say hi, hashtag buy my merch, tell your local promotions to fly me out. We can fly within the country these days, and that's about it. So yeah, let's get Gavin versus Australia back on track.
All right. And don't forget to subscribe to Wrestle Radio Australia, hit the little subscription and the little belly thing so you'll know when these shows come up. And we'll be back, I guess, next week with Wrestle Radio Australia. Thank you so much for coming on, Gav.
No worries, mate. Cheers.
Busy 23, got me feeling way too sweet. Yeah. Too sweet. Put your fangs up. Too sweet. Pour another cup. Let's be busy 23.